Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. So, what I'll do today in this episode, I'm going to look at AI for service. Now, obviously, in the previous episode, I looked at AI for sales, right? Now, AI for services is quite important. You might have heard about it. There are lots of use cases, right? Because service industry is the one industry which has a lot of challenges at the same time, a lot of opportunities, right? Now, Einstein for Service is one of the product which is very handy to streamline some of the processes when it comes to serving your customer, right? So, for instance, right, if you are a case agent who is looking after the customer queries, a lot of queries can be streamlined before it even reaches an agent. For instance, like if you are running a company, let's say sells beers, right? Now, if you have a simple query about the beer to say, look, do you sell extra stout, or do you sell porter, or do you sell pilsner, or what kind of hops do you use? Do you use European Pilsner hops, or do you use local New Zealand base, right? And that and do you make, say, for instance, milk stout or caramel stout or different other flavors, right? These days you have hazy IPAs and all kind of stuff, right? So you can streamline those queries with the help of a chatbot, where a customer gets whatever they're looking for. Like if the query is simple and does not involve much user or agent feedback, then a lot of things can be streamlined before it's coming to the sales rep agents, right? This way they can focus on something more critical and more important for the customer. Right? The customer might say, hey, look, I ordered a milk stout and I feel that tastes yuck and I want refund, right? And you might have a company policies which do not allow refund, because you might have said, look, before you buy, we send you some of the test samples, and you agreed to taste it. Now you tried all of our test samples and you specifically order for it. Now we can't refund it, right? So in that kind of scenarios, you might need a user, as for instance, more talented or more experienced, I would say. I want, because if I use the word talent, it irks people, because unfortunately we live in a, too much of, how do I say, social media world where people get easily offended, even if you try to tell them, look, that person can do things better than you. People get offended, right? Anyways, never mind. So you know what I'm getting at, right? So where Einstein for Service will be handy, right? It with the help of a chatbot and a lot of other stuff, right? And the most, and I would say the biggest advantage, um, because the user or customer don't have to wait in the queue. They can get a quick response by talking to chatbot, right? Like, I don't know. If, I'll show you. This is the New Zealand um, the Countdown, which is Australian company. They're named it to Woolsford, right? So this is the something similar. We can do that in Salesforce. So I'm trying to explain to you how it works, right, from a user experience, uh, like how I use it like I do online shopping a lot, right? I order my at least the regular grocery, not the meat, because I'm Jewish. I eat kosher food, but some of the stuff I do online, like other stuff. So if I have any query, I normally go here, and so this is like a chat agent. Instead of talking to a real person, I can ask me anything. So you can do online query, refund. So you know what I'm trying to get say, right? So something similar you can do using Einstein for bots, right? So and these are the features which is available. Article recommendation, like if you you need some help with some articles, so recommends knowledge articles, right? to the customer agent. Like if I'm trying to solve a complex, let's say, refund issue, so there might be an article somewhere written by, let's say, another head of the salesperson. So Einstein will bring that article for me. And then we have bots, then the case classifications. Classification is very important, right? Sometimes, you know, um, when a customer query comes to the system, right? They might say, look, this is urgent, that's urgent, and this is broken, that's broken. So based on the keywords, right, AI behind the scene will create a case and assign the priority according to that. Yeah. And the same goes with the case routing, right? Because if I say, look, I wanted to talk to a customer rep who can deal with the complex refund issue, so it will route it to the right person, right? Then case wrap up, you could do conversation mining, which is very important, I believe, which is like if you conversation data into service insight and build bot intents, right? Knowledge creation it can help you with. Next best action you can do Einstein work summaries, you can do service analysis. There are a lot of things you can do, right? Obviously, I'm not going to get into the hands-on side of things, right? If you, they said really don't need hands-on, but from a real understanding perspective of a product, I believe that if you get an opportunity, go for it, right? And now let's assume that we have all of these things in place. What exactly are we trying to achieve, right? That's the question you should be asking. I mean, it's easy to say like Salesforce has AI for this, AI for that, right? But what is the outcome you're trying to achieve, right? That's the question. If I'm a business owner, I say, look, I'll say to Salesforce, look, you're trying to sell me your fancy AI product, but what exactly are you trying to solve, right? For us. Because I don't care about, the terminology or Kool-Aid you sell to the people, right? I have a business use case. Can your AI will solve that? That's the question I'll be asking. And surprisingly, Einstein for AI, Einstein for service, is covers pretty much use case for most of uh, the call centers and the agencies who deals with the customer interaction side of things, right? So that's one of the very common use case and most important, I would say. Use case, right? So the outcome is the better customer experience, better CSAT score, right? And obviously better customer retention. These other things are important. Obviously, you can add more to it, right? But I'm just giving an overview perspective why you should consider using it for your business if you're heavily involved in the service industry. That being said, you might also say, look, I use ServiceNow. That's a different product, but if you're using it, yeah, that's a different conversation altogether. So this is about if your business use Salesforce, right? So now you can also use the grounding, right? Obviously, I explained grounding when I discussed Einstein trust layer. You can use the grounding to only feed selective records, and so what that do is that it will Einstein behind the scene will index it, right? Those objects and fields. Now, the reason behind is important. Einstein will can make use of that information as a part of the knowledge base to personalize your uh, customer communication, which is very important, right? Obviously, if you're dealing with Dave, let's say, for instance, a customer, let's say Dave Muller, um, your conversation with Dave should be all about Dave's, interactions and summaries and all the challenges and opportunities associated with the Dave and his business, right? And so if you use a grounding, it will index information related to Dave and all the necessary data it will pull in and will give you the personalized recommendation, personalized summary, and other aspect related to Dave's journey. Now, that's in nutshell what Einstein for Service is about. Now, obviously, I do understand it's a brief overview. I haven't covered much from a hands-on perspective. Like I said, right, this is not much hands-on. This is more. I mean, AI specialist is not really a specialist. I mean, if I didn't look, I'm not trying to be pessimist about it, right? But the reason why I'm saying, right, I've been in AI. I've been in the AI industry for quite a long time, right? And if you throw at me any kind of algorithms, I can answer your question, right? So w- when Salesforce makes a big, hype, right? I just take a step back to say, look, is this really worth the hype, right? And obviously, people who get excited with the possibilities thanks to the Gen AI, they get excited because the first reason they think, oh, okay, if I get certified, I get more money. Unfortunately, that's not true anymore, right? The market is very different. Because like I said, I involves in the Salesforce ecosystem. I'm a lead architect in one of the agencies I consult, right? And I've seen like, you know, um, anyways, I don't want to get too controversial. So because um, what I'm trying to say is that, right, when you try to get certification, please make sure try to understand the use case what you're trying to solve, and try to go a little bit beyond what are you learning, right? Be proactive to say, hey, this guy talk about grounding. How does Microsoft use grounding? What do they talk about grounding, right? And what about Oracle, right? Do they use grounding? And how do they use it? That's what makes you a good architect, because don't be a tool specific architect. That's not an architecture. That's just you're a sales guy disguised as an architect. That's all it is. Um, so yeah, that's my advice, right? If you're learning Salesforce certification, just be curious about it, right? Like grounding. I explain grounding, but go and read, let's say, in Microsoft documentation, Google documentation. Google had their DeepMind team has a pretty good documentation about grounding, LLMs, generative AI, BERT, different model, transformer architecture. Because to be honest, transformer architecture is from Google, right? It's the research was done by Google, and then OpenAI adopted it and made it more glorified, right? And it's no longer an OpenAI; it's a closed AI, I would say, but whichever way. So yeah, I mean, all I say, right? AI is an exciting technology. It will change a lot of things over the years. A lot of things it will automate. Unfortunately, many people will lose job at the same time. At the same time, more jobs will be created, right? So it's a matter of bringing the balance, right? Sometimes entropy is essential. So yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to rant, but just to give you perspective. So that being said, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in this episode. Hope you guys have an amazing Friday, and if you're in New Zealand, have a great Labor weekend. Adios.